Imagine lying face down in the snow for hours, not minutes, hours. The temperature is somewhere around 40 below zero. Your breath could give you away, so you've learned to control it, to slow it down until it barely fogs the air in front of your face. You're not moving, you're barely breathing, and somewhere out there, an entire army is looking for you, and they don't even know your name. They just call you the White Death. This isn't a legend. This isn't a folktale exaggerated over campfires. This is a real man with a real rifle who became one of the most feared soldiers in modern history without ever raising his voice, without ever being seen by most of the men who feared him most.
His name was Simo Häyhä, and his story starts on a quiet farm in Finland. Before any of this, Häyhä wasn't training to be a soldier. He was a farmer and a hunter, standing just 5'3", the kind of person you'd walk past without a second glance. He spent years hunting in the deep forests of eastern Finland, learning how to move without sound, how to read the wind, and how to disappear into terrain where others would simply get lost. He quietly built a reputation in local shooting competitions as an exceptional marksman, though nothing about that reputation extended beyond his small community. Then, in the bitter winter of 1939, the Soviet Union invaded Finland. A country of a few million found itself facing an army with millions of soldiers, thousands of tanks, and seemingly unlimited resources. On paper, it was never a fair fight. The conflict became known as the Winter War, lasting just over 100 brutal days. Soviet planners expected a quick victory, anticipating the entire campaign wrapping up in a couple of weeks. Instead, Finnish forces, badly outnumbered and poorly equipped, held huge stretches of the front, using their frozen terrain as a deadly weapon the invaders simply didn't understand. Häyhä was assigned to the Kola riverfront, one of the most ruthless sectors of the entire war. Temperatures plunged close to -40 degrees. Most soldiers struggled just to survive the freezing cold, but Häyhä turned the environment into an extension of himself. The phrase "Kola holds" became a legendary rallying cry throughout the nation. Holding that line meant enduring conditions where frostbite alone killed and disabled soldiers in greater numbers than combat itself.
He wore all white, blending completely into the snowdrifts. He packed the snow in front of his position into a hard, smooth ramp so his rifle wouldn't kick up loose powder when he fired. He kept snow inside his mouth so his warm breath wouldn't rise as a visible cloud in the freezing air. Every tiny detail most soldiers overlooked, he treated as the absolute line between life and death. And here is the detail that surprises almost everyone. Häyhä did not use a telescopic scope. Most snipers rely on glass optics to extend their range, but a scope forces you to raise your head higher, creating a glint of reflected light that enemy spotters are trained to locate. Häyhä used simple iron sights. Iron sights let him stay lower, flatter, and completely invisible. He traded magnification for total concealment, and in close-range forest warfare, that trade kept him alive. His weapon was a Finnish M2830 Mosin Nagant, a bolt-action design already considered old-fashioned. He didn't need advanced technology. He needed patience, precision, and absolute discipline.
Over roughly 100 days, Finnish military records credit Häyhä with over 500 confirmed kills using that rifle alone. Even the most conservative historical estimates place him among the deadliest marksmen in human history. Word of what was happening at Kola spread through Soviet ranks like wildfire. Entire units were losing men without ever spotting the shooter. No muzzle flash, no movement, just soldiers falling, one after another, from an invisible phantom. That was when Soviet troops gave him the name Belaya Smrt, the White Death. The Soviets didn't just fear him, they actively hunted him. Elite counter-snipers were deployed specifically to eliminate the ghost of Kola. Massive artillery barrages tore through entire forest patches where he was suspected to hide. None of it worked. Häyhä never fired from the same position twice, and he understood the frozen wilderness far better than anyone hunting him.
his greatest weapon wasn't the rifle. It was the psychological dread of the unknown.
In March of 1940, near the very end of the war, Heiha was struck in the jaw by an explosive bullet. He was found unconscious, his face severely disfigured, and presumed dead. But he survived. He woke from a coma on the exact day the peace treaty was signed. Heiha never spent the rest of his life chasing fame or glory. He returned to his farm, bred hunting dogs, and lived a quiet, humble life in the countryside. When asked decades later how he became such an extraordinary marksman, his answer was simple: practice. His tactics are still studied by elite military programs around the globe, proving that total environmental mastery will always triumph over overwhelming firepower. Simo Häyhä passed away in 2002 at the age of 96. Remember that image, a man lying motionless in negative 40 degrees for hours, patient enough to wait, invisible enough to halt an invading army. They called him the White Death. He never raised his voice once.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Mythic Crypt Story for more untold historical legends.